A pleasure to me all at last, and welcome back to Why Is That 3.0. And now, what I'm going to do is, simply put, try out something different here. In terms of questions, some people have asked me a few things about what I've done in terms of living and how I make myself a living with my income every month. But, you know what? Some other people are still wondering how I'm basically doing outside of Wisconsin. Not just with trips, but with other things as well. Basically, I got someone who pretty much asked me at some point in late 2021, why is that you live in Oregon, whereas your brother lives in Carolina? Parenthetically, of course, he also wants me to specify which Carolina I'm referring to. And you know what? I'll just make it simple for you. First of all, I've since moved back here to Wisconsin. Oregon became a little too expensive to live in after some time. And the thing is that even though I moved there 2 years ago, it eventually got to a point where inflation came up a little too high and certain things just started getting way too expensive. And even with some financial assistance and help from some new friends here and there, and not to mention an advisor whom I had in the banking system, I just couldn't last very long out there in Beaverton, Oregon. So I've since moved back all the way here to Menomonee Falls and have since got myself a nice studio to basically utilize my time as wisely as I can. I occasionally come by here only to make my videos for the most part, but there are tons of videos that I have made before I moved out. So it might not be very obvious, but you will see for yourself sometime. But of course, the other part of the question is, why does my brother live in Carolina? And to specify, I'm simply talking about this one neo state. The state that is, in fact, to the south of Virginia. And, in fact, is to the southeast of another Virginia, West Virginia. I mean, why not call the other one East Virginia? That's really the whole problem here. There's no consistency relating to a north, south, east, or west. But the thing is that Luke, as you probably know, he lives in Carolina, specifically in a town known as Greenville. And Greenville is in fact a popular college estate area located within Pitt County, Carolina. Quite a ways away from the likes of Raleigh and Asheville. But the thing is that Greenville, in contrast to any of the latter, basically does serve not only as a well-known collegiate program for any youth or adults of any type, but it also does offer plenty of other things, like sports, for instance. As you probably know, Clark LeClair Lewis Stadium is home to a few different sports. Football, baseball, and you even have yourself a basketball court, which is inside the campus, rather than it being an outdoor facility, like the others. But let's be real here. I lived in Oregon, and he lived in Carolina. We're definitely as far apart as we could have possibly been. I'm out there in the northwest, and he's down on the east coast. Closer to the southeast for the most part, but not necessarily in anywhere like Georgia or Alabama or Florida. The thing is, though, is that regardless of which exact state he lives in, and the same goes with me, we still have each other. There's a reason why a smartphone was invented. The smartphone itself has the capabilities beyond any possible tech we could have imagined. And I'm also sure by now that someday we will have even bigger advancements. Like there could be holographic chats, where a literal holographic figure could stand in front of you, or possibly even an augmented reality image of a figure in your life. It probably could have all the realism put into it through the usage of a robot, perhaps? Who really knows? The next 3 or 4 decades are sure to be a thrilling set of scientific improvements. I mean, we were able to counteract a pandemic in just a couple of years. Whereas back then, it would have taken way longer. So, the thing is, we would simply go from a pandemic to a no-demic almost overnight. And here in 2023, a time where we're no longer going to have such worrisome thoughts about it, it's just simply put, the times that have come by and gone, the years of trial and error that humanity has given us, the generations of wisdom and knowledge that have been passed down branch to branch to branch to branch, all the way from the roots of the tree itself. But one final statement I can at least put together is that while Luke went down specifically to Carolina for a purpose of getting higher education and having a better degree in terms of sports, I simply moved to Oregon as a way to have myself a similar set of goals. But had I noticed that the place was quite expensive and getting higher by the minute in terms of inflation and economical counts, I would have definitely turned a different direction. I most likely would have gone towards a much cheaper state, like Ohio, for instance. I hear there, it's a bit cheaper than you realize. Definitely not cheap enough to make people believe that there is nothing wrong with the economy, or to trick us into having something different in mind when it comes to economic changes. But as we probably know by now, I care not about what the economy does to us. The only thing that concerns me at this very point is how humanity treats themselves. Because with all the years that we're going to be going through, we will never know for sure what lies ahead. If we basically just continue prepping our way for the future, surely we won't have such a big problem like another pandemic. One that could probably be even bigger and more terrifying than the last. I mean, between 2019 and 2022 alone, it was quite an era for us to live in. So, with this, 2024, 2025, 2026, I mean, I'm going to have tons of huge work and all sorts of projects going back and forth pretty much. So in the end, hopefully you get the gist of it all. I do not want a single notion of blockades and other such problems, whether they are outliers or just simply minorities that stand in my way of my goals in life. I will forever shove them to the sides. If I can do such things in life, make big decisions, like having to move out of the state again, quit more social media, including YouTube and Instagram, and probably sell every possible thing I've ever owned in my life, including all the things I've collected, my PlayStation, my filming equipment. If I ever have to get to a point where just to attempt to make ends meet, I have to do all of that, then that's probably what I'll have to do, you know? But, you know, unlike with a lot of things I've done, I'm sure that my YouTube channel and Instagram account will probably have to stay for the purpose of maintaining my overall legacy. Not just as a content creator after so many years, but also as a person who has had experience on the web with all sorts of things in life. With all the years of change, all the years and laws being regulated, all the things that have been swapped out, all the things that the Supreme Court's going to overturn, all the things that people might be doing to threaten our government and our relationship with our own countrymen and women of all sorts. From this day forward, I, Jay Nowak, am never again going to allow such flagrant, irresponsible despondencies to cross paths with my own true consciousness. End of story. And so, with that in mind, this is just it. All I have to offer for this one piece. But more questions to answer, more things to talk about here. Lots of people want to ask me different things, so we'll just end it right here. So, thank you very much for watching this bit, and I'll see you again in the next episode.